Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. It's, well, I have 8:03 on my, no, on my clock. And I'll make that 8:04. All right, so first order of business, we have the approval of minutes from August 28th. And I had only one comment, which is I think there was a bit of a typo in the first sentence. Other than that, it looked fine. Okay. Is it the one-page explanation of Article 15 to be handed at the town meeting as discussed? I think it was.
Oh, yes.
Was discussed.
What we got?
I move
Fine.
acceptance of the minutes as amended.
I second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, we heard a second. Yeah.
I've got a second. Then I guess we're ready to vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Actually, I forgot. We're supposed to do this by roll call. Let me just run down. I'll run down the order people are on my screen. Okay. So Nancy.
Nancy, you got to vote.
Vote? Oh, really? All right, sure.
Yeah, we
Yes.
have to do it by roll call. So
We have to do that every time?
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
what. Yeah, that's what the rules say. So,
Yes. Yes, that's true.
okay, so I got a yes from Nancy. Ryan.
Aye, Ryan is here.
Okay. Bill.
Yes.
Walter.
Aye.
Oh, Jonathan, do you know what we're voting on?
No,
What
no, I had
difference does that
difficulty
make?
getting in.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you. We're voting whether to accept the minutes with the amendment that, as discussed, should be was discussed.
Oh, okay, well, I have read them, so I'm ready to vote.
Okay, so yes or no? We have a motion and a second, so we're voting.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yes from Jonathan. All right, well, and I vote yes, so that's I believe that's everyone and unanimous. Okay. All right, so second order of business, follow-up from the town meeting. What do we need to do next? I think actually the follow-up from the town meeting is probably also the third order of business, contacting our state senator and representative. Do we have any other actions we need to take to follow up? I think.
Well, I have a question. David, about this. And actually, Linda, you may or may not know, what do we do and what does the select board do from this point on? Is this turned over to you? What happens?
So that's a good question. We, the select board, I think 2 meetings ago, briefly went through all the follow-up actions that need to be taken as a result of action at town meeting. And this was certainly on the list to contact our representatives. There's, as some of you may know better than I, at this point, there's a lot of uncertainty about when the current legislative session at the state is going to end. There are all kinds of home rule petitions, including ours from the previous town meeting, not this last one, but the one prior. We have a couple home rule petitions that are still being considered and are in conference committee discussion. So we're hopeful that at least one of them will get acted on in this particular legislative session. So we're sort of, this is an unusual time. There's always last minute scurrying, as you know, right up until December 31, typically. But clearly, we don't even know when the session's going to officially end at this point. It'll be after the first of the year is what I understand. So the select board will be in contact with our representatives and try to get the new home rule petitions moving. But whether or not it's going to, I think it's unlikely that it'll be included in this current session, even though the action took place in September at our last town meeting. So if, that's the best update I can give you at this point.
So does that mean,
I think Bill's question was, And I agree with it. The actual actions of moving things along are in the hands of the select board.
I would say so at this point.
Can I speak up? I'm concerned that the original thing that was passed, which was renewed in a sense by town meeting, basically would be another 3 years, but we want them to do what they did when Sudbury asked them to renew theirs, which was somebody pushed it to make it permanent. So we certainly want the thing renewed, and I hope they would do what they did on Sudbury's, but I don't think we should make this thing totally contingent on that. If for some reason they only decided to do it again for another 3 years, I think we should live with that.
No, Jay, what we put forward is that it be in perpetuity.
Yes, this is a new home rule petition. It is not not referring to the previous one, so it's it is, you know, it's a totally new thing with the changes that we want made in it, and that's what they're going to get.
So what I was hoping the committee could bring me up to speed on is when the current home rule petition that you're operating under actually.
We are not operating under a home rule petition.
Yeah,
You're acting under an act of the legislation at this point, right?
Yes.
special act.
Yeah.
Right. The current fiscal year is the last for the existing home rule petition. So so right at this very moment, people are on a program are paying paying taxes at the exempted rate.
Correct.
But if we go into if we get to next July 1st without the new home rule, I believe that means then people would have to go back to paying the well, they'd still be eligible for the other exemptions, but they'd go back to paying the full rate otherwise.
Yeah.
So this expires, that's the point, right? This expires, this is something Jay, I think, was trying to make. This does expire, this is the last year.
Correct. And am I correct in understanding that if we get positive action from the state, that this has to go back to ballot? Is that correct?
Yes, back to town meeting and then to the ballot.
Yeah. Okay. So it's likely there's going to be an interim period where this is not available to our citizens.
Can we go over that one more time though, Linda? And David, I thought we had taken that into account, and I thought there was not going to be a gap. So
yeah, well, we originally planned to get this thing passed through the first town meeting in April, and said we got it passed in September. So we're already 5 months behind the schedule.
So we're clear that there will be a gap then, right? Is that what that's what you're saying?
I think there should not be a gap.
Correct.
I think we'd look better if we just continued it in light of the terrible effects of that pandemic. But I don't think there should be a gap, and I also think that somehow they should be said that, look, renew it anyway, and if you won't renew it on a permanent basis, at least renew it for another 3 years.
Yeah.
The difficulty, Jay, is that we can't get it in front of the Great and General Court. That's the issue.
Well, first off, the whole sequence has to be that the select board gets it submitted to the Great and General Court. The Great and General Court has to get to it promptly so it can go up before the town meeting next April, should it be whenever it is, and then to the ballot in June, and then there's no gap.
But I'm really troubled by this timing business, because my feeble mind tells me that people have only had the tax reduction 2 times. I don't remember that they had it 3 times.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that.
So if that's the case, I don't understand why there would be a gap, because it was for 3 years.
Well, we actually,
Yep, I think Walter's right. Walter's right.
So Walter, in that case, they apply for this, they would apply again during this year and have it for this, what are we saying? Would there be,
wait, no, I thought, no, okay, wait, we have results from 2 years, which were fiscal year 19 and fiscal year 20. I think fiscal year 19 was the first year it was passed.
Right.
It was done. And we had, I think, 4,950 people in the program then. Then fiscal year 20, we had, I think, 44.
And
We
at this
haven't gotten
point, we
results.
should have had the people applying by September for the coming year.
Right, but at the time that I put the materials in for town meeting, it was at that point, I think not even September 1st when I put that in. We didn't have the numbers from the assessor for fiscal year 21 yet.
Right.
So we've had 2 complete years, and they are just at this moment probably sorting through the applications for the 3rd year. Well, maybe by this time they sorted through them. It's been a month.
So if the Great and General Court is able to get to this in the early part of the year, our citizens will still be safe through the time to apply again if they do this properly. So there won't be a gap.
Yeah, I mean, I would put I would propose to put an article on the warrant to pass this, regardless of whether the legislature has acted yet, in the hope that they will act in time for us to act on the warrant article.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So if the legislature gets to it in the next 2 months, fine. If they don't, then we just cross our finger and hope. But we should have a warrant article anyway. If we don't get the warrant article, then we're dead in the water. I think
So that's assuming we would have town meeting again next spring rather than in the fall.
Yeah, that is another.
So the tentative, I can speak to that if you like.
Yes, please.
So the tentative plan right now is we're looking at June for the town meeting, assuming that we'll basically be in still a COVID mode, or at least people's reluctance to be indoors for a lengthy period of time, and certainly not ready in April. And a June date would allow us to hold another town meeting outdoors. So that's tentatively what we're looking, the select board and others in the town are looking at, and there's general consensus that makes sense at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yet to be formally voted on by the select board, but it's upcoming on the agenda.
so the warrant that I think David is referring to would have to be a warrant where we would ask to have folks postpone, the people who would be eligible, to have them be allowed to postpone paying their taxes until this is paid. Because we can't, in other words, it'd just be a postponement, right?
Oh, I don't think so. I think what David is suggesting is that we put a placeholder in there with an item saying the Great and General Court has passed this thing. Now we need to ratify it the second time. Is that not what you're suggesting?
That's true, but he's also saying if there's a gap, right? Well, David, you should tell. I think you're saying if there is a gap, we should make sure that those taxpayers who normally benefit from this are not left out. Isn't that what you're trying to address?
I am not sure if we can do that. What I'm suggesting is that we just make sure that we are ready to vote on this at the next town meeting if
So you're saying
all the other things are in line.
Okay.
So certainly we'll work with Senator Barrett's office and Tammy Corvea's office to help us sort out the pathway to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
So, you know, we're not going to finish this discussion today, I guess is my
No.
point. Yeah. But you know, I understand clearly that the goal is not to have a gap to,
Right.
and to come up with mechanisms to the extent that we can to prevent that from happening. So, you know, if the June 21 date holds as and is voted officially as the town meeting date, you know, there's still the ballot question when that would happen after that. And yeah, so we've got some challenges ahead, no doubt.
Right, and I guess the question is, I mean, when we first passed this, it took us about a year to actually implement it. But of course, this time we would be, I mean, the assessors would be ready to, they're already implementing it, so they would simply be able to continue. So I guess there is a question of if the ballot question comes after July 1st, is it still?
Well, people could probably apply contingent upon it passing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think we could dodge our way around that. And if for some reason it failed, and let's make a worst case here for a sec. If for some reason it failed, then they just tear up the applications, be done with it. But I think we could encourage the citizens to apply, even though it hasn't necessarily passed.
That makes sense.
Yep.
We should note that this is not exactly what was originally set up. In other words, it was modified to make it easier for the assessors to come up with the numbers, but it might be a good idea to make sure that the legislative people are aware of that change, and that the fact that it was a very positive change.
Jonathan, in terms of, you're referring to in terms of how the eligibility was calculated, correct?
Yes, well, it used to be the procedures for the assessor were very complex, and it required a lot more time. So they suggested that we make certain changes that made it a lot easier for them to do their job.
Yeah,
Which
okay.
we did.
Yes, okay.
But that's different perhaps than what they think in the legislature, because it differs a little bit from the way the thing was drafted by the legislature.
Yeah, well, what we're doing is making it identical to Sudbury, which they've already blessed, which is both perpetual and based on gross income, I believe. And so what we really want to do is we got to get hold of, Mike Barrett and what's her name, and get this thing hustled through. If the select board gets it ready, we'll just hustle it to them, and it's conceivable it can be done under a special, whatever it is, in the fall part of the term. So let's we got to, Linda, it's in your hands right now, the whole timing. So
Wonderful. But I hear the urgency, and but you also hear what some of the realities are up there too. So we'll do our best.
Sure.
anything which lowers taxes for old people ought to shoe right through at Beacon Hill.
Okay.
I like that. I like that optimism.
Nancy, I'm just saying out loud for Nancy's benefit that the grounds for optimism is that the interrupter in chief has tested positive. So anyway.
Okay, so actually, so a question that we had on the agenda was whether I think this was whether the committee should directly contact our state senator and representative. Well, I think basically to give our thanks for their prior support, and again,
We'll let them know it's coming.
yeah.
I wonder, I may ask Linda, is that appropriate, Linda? Or do you think we should just let the board, the select board handle this from now on?
You know, to let them know it's coming and to thank them for their previous support, I think is perfectly fine. We'll immediately move in on working out the details of what's next, what's needed.
Okay.
Does that sound like it'll work for both of us? I think so.
Yeah.
Seems to me Mike Barrett was quite involved at one point, and he was very supportive of this whole thing. So I
Yes.
think just some communication with Mike would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, so who should draft those letters?
Well, I can do that. And who should, I think we might want to contact them by directly by calling them, or perhaps. I think one of us could do each, one could do Tammy and one could do Mike.
I would comment that I've been on the phone fairly regularly with Mike Barrett, and I can be with Tammy, and we can hustle this through. He'll be happier to talk to me because I've been harassing him on police reform.
Oh,
It'll be an easier topic for him,
all right.
easier topic for him to deal with. So
That's,
and
I would concur with that. It'd be great if you would do it.
happy to do it. Happy to do it. Just somebody, if somebody else puts it together and says, you know, here it's coming, and I'll do what I can to call it to their attention.
Good.
Okay, well, like I said, so Nancy for the letters and Ryan for the phone calls.
Good.
And
Okay.
I don't know, do we need letters? I mean, if we have, well, I guess it would be good to explain exactly what we're doing in a letter.
Well, what happens is that somebody needs to say, hey, there's this home rule petition coming through from the Concord Select Board, and find it and get it in front of the tax committee and get them to vote.
Listen, I'm on a
So-
Zoom meeting, so let me. Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
So
Well,
just to make sure we're clear about this, the idea is that Nancy will draft a letter saying, hey, this is coming, and please do what you can. And then Ryan will follow that up with a, you got this letter saying,
yeah.
you know, get on board. Is that the sense of what's going to happen?
I would suggest that we do it that way. I mean, Nancy, if you could CC the other members of the committee, then Ryan will see the letter when it comes through and then be prepared to refer to it when he calls.
Okay.
May I ask, will that happen before your next committee meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, if it does, do you mind making sure I
Yes.
see it as well?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. Or just let
Yes,
me know when you,
excellent.
just let me know when you've sent it out so that I can.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Right, but should we, when do you think you will be getting in touch with them?
It's, I'm thinking of, you know, there's a number of people need to be involved in terms of the clerk's office and some other steps here that need to be taken. So I would hope within the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So, well, maybe you could let me know when you have contacted them.
Yeah, that shouldn't interfere with you moving forward, but
No.
Actually, if our letter gets there first, that's almost a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do it right away.
Yeah. So one question actually, a question for the select board. I have, so I know we have, there's the copy of the motion in the handout. So that's got the complete text as we proposed it. I mean, and then there's the version I sent to Carmen that is basically the original one marked up to, to change the text, showing exactly how many, what words we had to change in the text in order to make the old one look like what we want now. That's marked up in red with underlines and cross
Sure.
throughs. So
Yeah, red line version, yeah.
yeah. So do you have the red line version? Do you need me to send that to you?
If I do, I'll get in touch with you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, whatever you need, I've still got copies of everything I sent to Carmen. So
Thank you.
okay. Well, so I think that's so Nancy's gonna do the letter, and I think that's I think that'll work very well.
And
So-
Ryan will contact them
Yes.
personally.
Okay. And so I think the only other item we have on our agenda for today, and I'm assuming we're done with the follow-up on town meeting now. The only other item on the agenda is the appointment of a new member, or rather discussing the appointment of a new member. I think we had some leads, but I don't know where that's what's happened with that, Bill.
Well, I can respond to that. I did reach out to, I mentioned Sarah and Mark Pacelli. I said either one of them. I actually think Mark would be more interested, but Sarah may be interested. To remind you, Mark is an engineer. He works with an international company. I can't remember which one. They have children who are in college. They are up on Monument Street. Sarah works for healthcare for the homeless, and in Boston. They haven't responded. They haven't gotten back to me. So my guess is they're not going to be interested. And we might want to start looking around for somebody else. I can follow up with them. So I don't know. Is there anybody else who comes to mind? It's been about a week and a half, 10 days since I reached out to them. So I can pursue them, but I have a feeling the answer is going to be no, because they're usually pretty good about getting back.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
And I honestly think we wanted Sarah, because we said that we'll be losing Nancy, and a woman would be good. But honestly, I think Sarah is even the least likely one to join us. I think she's not going to do it.
Okay. So I guess the floor is open to other candidates. It does sound from this that well, it was never a sure thing in the first place, right?
No, it was never a sure thing, and
it looks less
yeah.
likely now.
So if there's no names from us, do we go through the green cards, or Linda? What would be a normal procedure?
So there are a couple committees right now with vacancies. We'll certainly announce that. Couple of select board meetings running just to reach out to people. But in the meantime, David could reach out to Jeremy in the select board office and see if there are any green cards.
Yeah, I don't know how we handle that in this day and age. I mean, I used to go in and I'd physically be sorting through the cards.
Well, more recently, sometimes, there's new activity within the last few months because everywhere we go, we're talking about, people getting their green cards in for vacancies. And sometimes he's got new activities. So if nothing else, he could check that for you.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I just meant. Well, I'll contact Jeremy and find out what the actual process is for me looking at cards now. Yeah.
The other question I have.
He would identify anyone who had indicated Tax Fairness Committee or something like it. And then he would let you know who those individuals were via email.
Yes,
So you're not going in there. Yeah.
right.
I wonder if anyone from the Tax Relief Committee who was on it at some point might be a possibility. And maybe we could get a list of those people and see if any one of those might be a possibility.
It's a great suggestion. And that's, you know, when I said, or a like committee, I mean, that's a good
That's
example.
what committee is.
Yeah, good example.
Yeah.
The-
And
the-
I am thinking that someone with, at this point, someone with legal experience might be useful to have.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, David.
I was thinking that actually at this point, legal experience might be a very useful thing to have on the committee.
Right.
How much more? A number of us, some of us, have been reappointed for another year, which is fantastic. I'm glad that came through. Nancy and others, and Jay, and I think Walter, you too, right? I think that was another year.
Yeah.
My question will be, will the committee's work be done then? In other words, are we winding down? I mean, so we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah.
About whether or not the committee, I mean, some of the work's gonna be turned over to the select board, that's clear. So is this committee, are we really ready to bring in new members, or are we really getting to the point of winding down?
So on the first point, I'll just jump in here. All of you are on duty through the end of, minimally through the end of town meeting next year,
Right.
despite what your term date said. And that's stipulated in APP 10.
Okay, good.
So that's a starting point for that
Good
discussion.
starting point.
Well, there's a philosophical moment. I always think of Jay Keyes when we have this discussion, because what we have thought about, if we get this business done, do we want to then go to the select board and say we'd like to mount up a campaign for a constitutional revision to go back to the local option local income tax?
Income tax.
So that's the question, whether the select board has the stomach or energy to power us up to do it, and whether we have the stomach and energy to do that. Because if you remember, when we cranked the numbers for that, however many years ago that was, the effect was magical in that it cut everybody's property tax in half. And people who had relatively lower incomes obviously didn't pay the additional tax was minimal, and people who had paid a lot of money would pay that additional percent. So it was a magic bullet. Unfortunately, it was unconstitutional in Massachusetts. And I don't know whether the Great General Court, one of the arguments against it, against the revision, was that it would benefit the wealthier communities, but it would not benefit the less wealthy communities.
Well, the latest we're hearing, as you're probably hearing too, there's at least a $5 billion shortfall for the FY21 budget. And so
Well, that revision would not affect the tax revenue for the state from Concord. We would simply have added 1% on top of that, which would come back to the town, but it wouldn't affect the state.
Yeah, although if we did pass such a constitutional amendment, the state, that would open up some possibilities for the state income tax.
Right.
It's a huge project.
Well, but my point is that's a reason for the committee to live on if anybody wants. But
Yeah,
if
sure.
in fact that isn't, nobody has the stomach to try and take that on, and I understand that. Then possibly
you could argue
the raison d'etre for this committee disappears.
Or you could argue that we just lower the ages of the people that qualify so that younger people get some benefit.
Oh, right.
Those are changes that could be made,
Yeah,
that God knows whether they'd be accepted by the general court.
Yeah, we might actually make it possible for this town to have teachers, mechanics, plumbers, policemen actually afford to live in this town, as was objected to by the lady in the $1,200 shoes at our previous income presentation. So I have to note that my battery is giving me a signal here. So I may need to sign out here. If I need to leave before the meeting ends, so be it, but it's up to you, David.
All right. Well, anyway, we don't actually have to decide that issue today, I guess, but it is, yeah, that is the question. And that is actually one of the reasons why I thought legal experience for dealing with our issues with legislature this year. But yeah, if we're heading for a constitutional amendment, then some experience with how the laws actually work would be helpful.
mhm.
Well, I think some of us still have a fire in our belly to get to a fairer taxation system, and even if it requires a constitutional amendment, because we got another 5 years, and I'm only 80, and I used to have dark hair on this committee. So, so Nancy and I got to say so long, and I'll swing it around so you can see Nancy having her breakfast here in the cabin with a little bit of an LED light over her. And,
Oh, there you are. Hi.
So we got to sign out. All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Well, that's probably the end of our agenda anyway, or isn't it?
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
yes, although
I
David,
think we've gone a little bit into discussion beyond the end of the agenda, in fact, so I think we're
David, you had a point for the agenda, which I didn't get on. What was that?
it may have been what we just discussed.
Oh, okay. Okay. Uh-huh.
So how about a date for the next meeting?
I think that is, thank you, Vice Chair. That's an excellent, excellent suggestion. Yeah, so what do people think? 1 month,
Sure.
which will put us, well, it's first Friday in November would be what?
November 6th.
We'll either be laughing or crying by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
November
Well, that
6th.
might be, that's probably a good date for meeting then.
Sounds good.
Better than the week before. The week before we'll have other things on our mind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so is everyone good with that then?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll have to, and we'll have to let Ryan know and make sure that it's okay with him too. All right, November 6th at 8:30.
No, 8.
8 is fine.
8, sorry. Yes, 8 o'clock as usual. I'm looking at my phone at the time, and then that's actually 8:40 something, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
We don't have to meet at 8 anymore. I mean, some people in the past were going to work or whatever. But anyway, we're used to it. So that's if you want to continue, we can, of course.
Well, some of us still go to work after these meetings. It's just the commute is a lot shorter. That's all.
Yes.
All right, so should we move to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, is that a motion?
I move that we adjourn, right?
Okay, and was that a second from Bill?
Yep.
Okay, well, all in favor then.
Aye.
Aye.
We don't have to take a roll call on this one, I think.
Right.
Unanimous.
Okay. Well, in that case, everyone who's in favor of adjourning should log out of the meeting.
All right.
Adjourn.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Well done.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda.